Hello and welcome to CET 4884. In this session, we will address the organization or business need for information security. The session will discuss the threats posed to information security and the more common attacks associated with those attacks or those threats. We will be able to differentiate threats to information within systems from attacks against the information within systems. The main goal of securing information is to protect system contents. If the system stays stable with no threats, then the organization can focus on improving systems that support the information, resulting efficiency, ease of use, and ease of access to useful information. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Since we have lots of attacks on a daily basis, we have to deal with those attacks, make sure that we can provide the support for the information that we have in the system. Once we protect the information, now we can increase the efficiency and create the ease of use. But with those attacks, that will affect operations, that will affect information, and that will affect the efficiency of our system. So securing information is a business need that assists the organization to function properly. Securing or security protects data that has been collected and used by the organization. Many organizations realize that one of their most valuable assets in their data. Without data, an organization loses its record of transactions and or its ability to deliver value to its customers. So the most important thing is their data. That's the assets. That's the valuable assets. And without that, they cannot function. They cannot deliver what they need to their customers. Protecting data in motion and data at rest are both critical aspects of information security. An effective information security program is essential to the protection of the integrity and value of the organization's data. Security protects the organization's technology assets from damage and loss. The modern organization needs to create an environment that safeguards applications using the organization's IT system. Particularly the environment of the organization's infrastructure. Once the infrastructure is in place, management must understand it has not abandoned the infrastructure. That's not the end of their job. And they cannot delegate the work to IT. Actually, it's the management's responsibility to make choices and enforce decisions, but must continue also to oversee the infrastructure. To perform effectively, organizations must add secure infrastructure services based on the size and scope of the enterprise. When an organization grows and more capabilities are needed, additional security services may have to be provided. As you extend, as you grow, you have to change. As the organization grows the network, grows the accommodation for other changes, other technologies, robust solutions that may be needed to replace the security program that the organization has outgrown. So it's not always the same devices or the same technology that you use. And don't forget that technology actually becomes obsolete after a short period of time. So we need to look at what's there in the market, what kind of new tools, new techniques, new methods has been developed and available in the market to keep up with the competitive advantage, especially with securing our information. Today's interconnected, interdependent, wirelessly networked in the business or the business environment are exposed to untrusted objects over the network. The smaller, faster, cheaper computers and storage devices decrease the skills necessary to be a computer hacker. You don't need to be professional to be a hacker. Um, you have fast computers, fast devices. You have portable devices that you can even use the phone to hack into a system. In addition, there are many attack tools that are available with low cost and even for free, that you can applications that you can download on your mobile device, your iPad, your phone, or your laptop, and it can be portable. You can be in the area, get into the wireless network and hack into the system. It's easy. There are software packages that are for free that you can use to get into these systems. So to make the proper decisions related to the organization's information security and to create policies and enforce them, management must understand and be informed of these various techniques and tools and threats that's available in the market, that's available for the hackers. They need to know that those are available threats and might affect that company's operation. So as we stated in the previous session, a threat is an object, person, or other entity that represents a constant danger to an asset, and we should act on that immediately. The corporate LAN can face threats from outside the organization or from the inside. The external threats can be identified as internet. The internet is considered as a threat because it includes viruses, malware, worms, spyware, and other similar threats. In addition, the denial of service, and we'll talk about the denial of service later in other lectures in details. And then the unauthorized users and the hackers. And then we need to address the national disasters where we have floods, storms, hurricanes, earthquakes that might affect the system and compromise the information within the system. And then we have the man-made disasters like the power outages and terrorist attacks and other incidents. While internal threats can be identified as or can be a result of employees' practice and errors, system failures of protection or information leakage or installing unauthorized software. Could be hardware threats such as theft and unauthorized access, and could be other internal threats from consulting or contracting jobs. If you have a contractor coming to your company and they might have access to the system, that contractor could be a threat to the organization. So any information that can be copied or unauthorized to be copied, that's a compromise of the information. So in general, we can identify 5 categories of threats. It could be unintentional acts. It's not meant, it's unintentional, and then just it happened. And we'll talk about that in details later. It could be national disasters. It could be technical failures. It could be management failures, and it could be deliberate acts. When we say unintentional act, means it was not meant to happen, but it's just human errors, which could include the shoulder surfing, which is explained in the next slide, and we'll talk about it more. It could also include the carelessness with laptops and portable computing devices that holds companies' information, also explained in a later slide. It could include opening questionable email from a spam source, which might be phishing for personal information, and we will address the concept of phishing in a later slide. It could be careless internet surfing, opening suspicious web pages, which might allow spyware to be installed on the company's computer. It could be the use of poor password selection and use, which might allow some hackers to crack the password and penetrate the organization's network. And there are other unintentional acts that could be related to environmental hazards such as dirt, dust, and humidity that might affect the uh, organization information. So employees constitute one of the greatest threats to information security as the individuals closest to the organization data. They are closer to the data, they are working with the data on a daily basis, and any mistake uh, can easily lead to revelation of classified data, entry of erroneous data, accidental deletion or modification of data, storage of data in unprotected areas, and failure to protect information. Most of these mistakes or errors are due to inexperienced employees or improper training or making incorrect assumptions. So that's why we said to begin with that we need the administration or the management to be involved in that. And this is how we impose policies, we increase training, and we make corrections for the assumptions that was made or that were made by the employees. Many threats can be prevented with controls ranging from simple procedures such as providing proper training and verifying activities by second party or enforcing policies, enforcing rules, or again, making sure that the employees don't have the wrong assumptions. Shoulder surfing occurs when the attacker watches another person's computer screen over the person's shoulder. Particularly dangerous in public areas such as airport. You are in the airport and somebody's sitting behind you and they can see your computer and they can see the information on your computer. Maybe they can see your username or when you type your password. It can be also in commuter trains and in airplanes. So when you are in a public area using the company's laptop, you have to be careful for any information that you display on the screen or the username and password that you use to authenticate and authorize and get into the system. Companies' employees' carelessness with laptops and portable computing devices that holds companies' information. In fact, the most dangerous employees are those in human resources and MIS that has access to employees' data, employees' information, and they can leave their computers logged in to the data or to the information in a public area or in a place where many people can see it. The management information system employees not only have access to sensitive personal data, but control the means to create, store, transmit, and modify those data. And that's very dangerous. So also the MIS people should be careful and not to ignore their computers and leave them in public places or in places where somebody can have access to them. The deliberate software attacks occur when an individual or group designs software to attack an unsuspecting system. Most of this software is preferred or is referred to as malicious code or malicious software or sometimes malware. These software components or programs are designed to damage, destroy, or deny service to the target systems. Some of the more common instances of malicious code are viruses and worms, Trojan horses, logic bombs, backdoors, and denial of services attacks. Computer viruses are segments of code that perform malicious actions. This code behaves, or the code behaves very much like a virus pathogen attacking animals and plants, using the cell's own replication machinery to propagate and attack. The code attaches itself to the existing program and takes control of that program access to the targeted computer. The virus's controlled target program then carries out the virus's plan by replicating itself into additional targeted systems. The macro virus is embedded in the automatically executing macro code common in office productivity software like Word processor or spreadsheets and database applications. The boot virus infects the key operating systems files located in a computer boot sector. Worms are malicious programs that replicate themselves constantly without requiring another program to provide a safe environment for replication. Worms can continue replicating themselves until they completely fill available resources such as memory, hard drive space, and network bandwidth. And that's when you see the blue screen and it will stop, it will be buffering, and it will not respond anymore or freeze because there's no space, no more memory, no more space on the hard drive. Trojan horses, software programs that hide their true nature and reveal their designed behavior only when activated. So Trojan horses are frequently uh, uh, designed or disguised as helpful, interesting, or necessary pieces of software, such as a readme.exe file, often included with shareware or freeware packages. Backdoor or trapdoor is a virus or a worm that can have a payload that installs a backdoor or trapdoor component in a system. This allows the attacker to access the system at with special privileges. So basically, we are providing like a backdoor for the hacker to get into. The polymorphism is a threat that changes its apparent shape over time, representing a new threat not detectable or detectable by techniques that are looking for pre-configured signature. These threats actually evolve, changing their size and appearance to elude detection by antivirus software programs, making detection more of a challenge for these software packages. Virus and worm hoax, as frustrating as viruses and worms are, perhaps more time and memory is spent on resolving virus hoaxes. Well-meaning people spread the viruses and worms when they send emails warning of fictitious or virus laden threats. Most attacks on companies are related to intellectual properties that have been developed as part of the business operations. Intellectual property is defined as the ownership of ideas and control over the tangible or virtual representation of those ideas. Intellectual property for an organization includes trade secrets, copyrights, trade makers or marks, and patents. Once intellectual property has been defined and property identified, breaches to IP constitute a threat to the security of this information. Most common IP breaches involve the unlawful use of or duplication of software-based intellectual property known as software piracy. There are many laws that will impose penalties on software piracy. In addition, two watchdogs organizations investigate intellectuals of or allegations of software abuse. Software and Information Industry Association, formerly the Software Publishing or Publishers Association, and the Business Software Alliance. Those two companies or organizations are supervising and looking for any breaches or piracy to the intellectual properties that's available in the market. Enforcement of copyright violations and piracy has been attempted through a number of technical security mechanisms, including digital watermarks embedded codes. As a result to any attack on the company's information or breach into the system, products and or services are not delivered to customers as expected, or what can be called as potential deviation in quality of service by service providers. This category represents situations in which the organization information system depends on the successful operation of many independent support systems, including power grids, telecom networks, parts suppliers, service vendors, and even the janitorial system or staff and garbage haulers. Internet service communications and power irregularities are three sets of service issues that dramatically affect the availability of information and systems. Internet service issues for organizations that rely heavily on the internet and the web to support continued operations. The threat of the potential loss of internet service can lead to considerable loss in the availability of information. Many organizations have sales staff and telecommuters working at remote locations. When an organization places its web service or servers in the care of a web hosting provider, that outsourcer assumes responsibility for all internet services as well as for the hardware and operating system software used to operate the website. Communications and other service provider issues, for example, other utility services, can impact organizations as well. Among those, or among the communication or services provided are telephones, water, wastewater, trash pickup, cable television, natural or propane gas, and custodial services. The threats of loss of these services can lead to the inability of an organization to function properly. And then we have the power irregularities. The threat of irregularities from power utilities is common and can lead to fluctuations such as power excesses, power shortages, and power losses. In the United States, buildings are fed 120 volt, 60 cycle power, usually through 15 and 20 amp circuits. Voltage level can spike, monetary increases or increase or surge, prolong increase, sag, which is momentarily low voltage, or brownout, prolonged drop, fault, which is momentarily or momentary loss of power, or blackout, prolonged loss. Since sensitive electronic equipment, specifically networking equipment, computers, and computer-based systems are susceptible to fluctuations, controls can be applied to manage power quality. One of the most common deliberate acts is espionage or trespassing. The threat represents a well-known and broad category of electronic and human activities that breach the confidentiality of information. When an authorized individual gains access to the information an organization is trying to protect, the act is categorized as a deliberate act of espionage or trespass. When someone apply or employ techniques to gather information that crosses the threshold of what's legal and or ethical, they enter the world of industrial espionage. Uh, Instances of shoulder surfing occur at computer terminals, desks, ATM machines, public phones, or other places where a person is accessing confidential information. The threat of trespass can lead to unauthorized real or virtual actions that enable information gatherers to enter premises or systems they have not been authorized to enter. Controls are sometimes implemented to make the boundaries of organizations virtual territory. These boundaries give notice to trespassers that they are intruding the organization's cyberspace. The classic preparators of deliberate act of espionage or trespass is the hacker. In the gritty world of reality, a hacker uses his or her skills to attempt to bypass the controls placed around information that is the property of someone else. The hacker frequently spends long hours examining the types and structures of the targeted system. There are generally two skills or two skill levels among hackers. The first is the expert hacker who develops, those are the one who develops the software, scripts, and code exploits used by the second category, which we call the novice or unskilled hacker. The expert hacker is usually a master of several programming languages, networking protocols, and operating systems, and also exhibits mastery of the technical environment of the chosen targeted system. However, expert hackers have now become bored with directly attacking systems and have turned to writing software. The software they are writing are automated exploits that allow novice hackers to become script kiddies, hackers of limited skills who use expert written software to exploit a system but do not fully understand or appreciate the system they hack. As a result of preparation and continued vigilance, attacks conducted by scripts are usually predictable and can be adequately defended against. There are other terms for system rule breakers. The term cracker is now commonly associated with an individual who cracks or removes the software protection from an application designed to prevent unauthorized duplication. Phreaker, with a PH here, hacks the public telephone network to make free calls, disrupt services, and cause chaos. Forces of nature or act of God poses the most dangerous threats because they are unexpected and can occur with very little warning. These threats can disrupt not only the lives of individuals but also the storage, transmission, and use of information. These include fire, flood, earthquake, lightning, landslides, mudslides, tornado, or severe windstorms, hurricanes or typhoons, tsunamis, electrostatic discharge, and dust contamination. Since it's not possible to avoid many of these threats, management must implement controls to limit damage and also to prepare contingency plans for continued operations. So if one of the areas got flooded, uh, they have another area or another copy of the information or of the data that can be protected in a different place that does not have a flood. Another common deliberate action is extortion, which happens when an attacker or formerly trusted insider steals information from a computer system and demands compensation for its return or for an agreement to not disclose the information or not to release the information in public. Extortion is common in credit card number thefts or theft. Missing, inadequate, or incompatible organizational policy or planning makes an organization vulnerable to loss, damage, or disclosure of information assets when other threats lead to attacks. Information security is its core a management function. Missing, inadequate, or incomplete controls, that is, security safeguards and information asset protection controls that are missing, misconfigured, or poorly designed or managed, make an organization more likely to suffer losses when other threats lead to attacks. Another popular deliberate act is the assault on the organization website. This category of threat involves the deliberate sabotage of computer systems or business, or act of vandalism to either destroy an asset or damage the image of an organization. These threats can range from petty vandalism by employees to organized sabotage against an organization. Organizations frequently rely on their image to support the generation of revenue. So if an organization's website is defaced, a drop in consumer confidence is probable, reducing the organization's sales and net worth. Compared to website defacement, vandalism with a network is more malicious in intent and less public. Today, security experts are noticing a rise in another form of online vandalism in what are described as hacktivist or cyber activist operations. A more extreme version of is referred to as cyber terrorism. In general, the theft is the illegal taking of another property. Within an organization, that property can be physical, electronic, or intellectual. The value of information suffers when it's copied and taken away without the owner's knowledge. Physical theft can be controlled quite easily. A wide variety of measures can be used, from simple locked doors to trained security personnel and the installation of alarm systems. Electronic theft, however, is a more complex problem to manage and control. Organizations may not even know it has occurred. In the next session, we will continue our discussion about other types of threats to the organization information system. For now, this will be all. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.